This presentation introduces the ancient method of measuring true north by the pole star and its introduction to Japan in Asuka period around 630 AD. The pole star is said to have been used to measure north directions since ancient times, but there is no research that analyzes the specific method. This study is a restoration of a specific measurement method in China. The orientation of the ruins of the ancient site in China and Japan prove that restored method was used over 2,000 years. This is contents of the presentation. First is the process leading up to the discovery of this measuring method. Next, the identification of the ancient pole star and the specific measurement method using the pole star. After that, I'll explain examples of verification of the orientation of remains in China and Japan. Finally, the estimation of when this measurement method was introduced to Japan and the changes that occurred during the Asuka period. First, I'll explain the process leading up to the discovery of the true north measurement method by the pole star. Kyoto's north-south streetscape is based on streets in the Heian period. Although there was a lot of interest in the true north measurement method, the underlying ideas were not given much thought. According to Tatsuhiko Seo's Chang'an city plan, the castle of Chang'an, the ancient capital of China, was built as a stage for dynastic ceremonies and embodies the existence of a heavenly mandate. By doing so, the emperors on earth tried to prove their legitimacy. The surveying method of the stage of the dynasty ritual was a true north measurement method using pole star as a Hokushin. Hokushin is god of pole star. In order to distinguish it from general Hokushin beliefs, the thought of the ruling class, in which the emperor governs according to the heavenly mandate of Hokushin, is called here the Hokushin ruling thought. This idea and the style of building palaces were introduced to Japan in the Asuka period, first half of the 7th century. This was carried over to Heian-kyo, and the city of Kyoto was born. This diagram shows the construction process of Chang'an Castle in Chuan city planning. First, the central axis is measured by the pole star. Palace Castle was constructed along the central axis of the measured meridian. Next, 3 main roads were built in each of the north to south and east to and west, and the Imperial Castle, which was the government office. In the next step, the streets will be created. Finally, a wall was built around the outskirts. In China, this last stage is called Capital Castle, but in Japan, castle do not have walls. The castle of Fujiwara may have the impression that it evolved from Palace of Asuka, but in reality, this construction process was understood, and in Japan, the palace and the capital castle were built according to the needs. Therefore, the idea of Hokushin's rule was introduced when palace was built in a correct north-south orientation. Until Emperor Jomei's Akamoto Palace, built in 630, no Japanese palace was built in a correct north-south orientation. Therefore, it is believed that such knowledge was brought to Japan by foreign students who traveled to Sui with envoys to Sui dynasty, studied in Chang'an for more than 20 years, and returned to Japan on the first envoy to Tang in 632. This is a reconstruction drawing of Chang'an Castle. The Taikyaku Palace and the Imperial Castle were built on the central axis aligned with the meridian, and in the center of the Taikyaku Palace is the Taikyaku-den, where the dynastic ceremonies of Hokushin's reign are held. Later, a palace called Daimei Place was built to the northeast of Taikyaku Palace, and the functions of the palace were transferred from the Daikyo Palace. However, the ceremonies of the Hokushin reign were held at the Taikyaku-den on the central axis until the end of the Tang dynasty. Tatsuhiko Seo asserts that the measurement of the direction of the capital was made with the pole star. As a concrete method, it is assumed that the true north measurement method using the sun and the pole star called Chujenziji, which is included in the construction book of the Northern Song dynasty, Yingzhou Fashi, is used. Also, he stated that according to source of China the direction of Chang'an Castle was 16 minutes west from true north. Yoshitaka Hojos also refers to the construction method, and stated if he pays attention to the time of the pole star, he should have been able to increase the accuracy to around plus or minus 0.1 degree. When Chang'an Castle was built in 582, the pole star at that time was 1.4 degrees away from the celestial pole. Therefore, the problem was how they know the time when the pole star was near the meridian without clock. While examining the measurement method of the Yingzhou Fashi, I found a description that allows me to estimate the timing of observation. In the Shijing, it is said that when the fixed star in the middle of the south, a palace will be built on the hill of Chu. According to the commentary, the fixed star is Shixiu, and the north-south direction is correctly determined by looking at the appointed star in the south and using the pole star in the north as a reference. This is said to be related to the construction of a castle on the hills of Chu in 658 BC. In Yanzichunkaiu, it is said that observe the Doshiu in the south, and the pole star is in the north, then east and west are adjusted accordingly. In both documents, there are the description of the leading star in the middle of the south, which is seemingly unrelated to observing the pole star for direction measurement. The direction of the pole star HR 4927 in the Chunkaiu era, which I had already identified, was calculated at the time when the leading stars of Doshiu and Shixiu were at the meridian. It was found that the direction of about plus or minus 20 minutes from true north was obtained. From this, it can be inferred that in China, from the Chunkaiu era at the latest, the pole star was used to measure the direction of capital castle. In the figure, this azimuth line is a line that connects the direction from true north when looking at the pole star at the time when the leading stars of Doshiu and Shixiu are at the meridian. The HR number is the number of the star catalog called the bright star catalog. Next, I arranged the directions of Japanese ruins of capital castle by chronological order along the direction lines formed by the pole star and leading stars during the Asuka to Heian period. This the first figure. At that time, I thought Fujiwara-kyo was built in 692, so there is a big error. But when I checked the materials, I found out that the construction started about 20 years before. As a result, it became clear that all the ruins were on the encirclement line, and the method of measuring directions using the pole star was introduced to Japan during the Asuka period. Next is the explanation for identification of the ancient pole star for the true north measurement. This is the result of the identification of the pole star drawn on the map in 300 AD. The number next to the star is the brightness magnitude. Even today, in areas without artificial light, up to about 6.6 porcelain can be seen with the naked eye. The orange circle is the celestial pole position for that age. In modern times, the pole star was erroneously regarded as the imperial star, but in reality, the closest star to the celestial pole was used as the pole star as the celestial pole moved. The pole star was identified by historical texts. In the Song's Historical Astronomy book, the pole star observations data at 8th century and 12th century agree with HR 4893. In ancient times, the angle from the celestial pole to pole star was measured by circling the pole star just inside the observation tube. Since the latter half of the 6th century, many other records have been left about the pole star, and it has been recognized HR 4893 as the pole star in this period. The observations of the pole star from the later Han to the northern and southern dynasties are also recorded in the Astronomical Journal of the Song dynasty. These records almost matches the movement of HR 4852. There are no records of observations of the pole star from Chunkaiu to former Han period. However, the description in the Analects of Confucius that the Hokushin does not move and the description that the Kixian in Lushi Chunkaiu in the Qin era matches the movement of HR 4927. In addition, there is no candidate in the sky other than HR 4927 during the time of Confucius. Even in the 20th century, when research on ancient stars was active, the ancient pole stars HR 4852 and HR 4927 were not identified. The reason is that the red star in this chart was not in the star catalog used by Japanese astronomers at the time. This figure is a map of the Chinese constellations in 300 AD. The pole star S was the fifth in the constellation North Pole. The pole star depicted in Kitara map and Takamatsuzuka map is also HR 4852. because the constellation of North Pole made by 5 stars lines in straight in the both map. The ancient pole star was once again confirmed to be the pole star by verifying the orientation of the ancient remains. In modern times, there is an erroneous interpretation that there were no stars in the ancient heavens, and that the pole star of Confucius was the pole of the sky. In ancient Greece, Confucius's pole star was called Poros. The pole star as the brightest star in the sky is a false image created by the modern pole star. That idea thwarted the discovery of ancient true north measurement method by the pole star. The ancient pole stars were also as close to the celestial pole as it is today. The true north measurement by the pole star was performed in China over 2,000 years, and about 600 years in Japan. It was introduced to Japan around 630 in the Asuka period with the ceremony of the emperor's dynasty. Important ceremonies of the emperor were held at Daigakuten, the shrine named after the pole star, until disappear by the fire in 1177. As you know, Japan is a country whose god is the sun. Therefore, in Japan today, people do not know or care why such an important event was held at shrine named after the pole star. Next subject is principle of true north measurement by pole star. I'll explain the principle of true north measurement using the pole star. The celestial sphere revolves around the Earth's axis. Here, we assume a star on the same right ascension as the pole star and a star 180 degrees away from it, and call them appointed stars. The right ascension is similar to longitude on Earth. These 3 stars lie in the same plane and rotate about the Earth's axis. When this appointed star crosses the meridian, the pole star will be at the true north. Stars 180 degrees away are for measurements in the opposite season. Since it is difficult to explain with the pole star near the celestial pole, I'll explain it with the method of the Itsukyo period. It is believed that during the Itsukyo period, when the leading star of Zhenqiu was in the south meridian, the direction was measured by looking at the 4th star of the Big Dipper. The resulting direction is 85 minutes west of north. If 2 stars are on the same line of equatorial longitude, when the south star is on the meridian, the north star is at true north. A similar example is given in the era of King Khufu in Egypt. The pole star of this era is Thuban in Draco, but Antares in Scorpio is at about the same equatorial longitude with it. When Antares is at meridian, the direction of Thuban was 1.2 minutes east from true north. At this time, Antares was an ideal appointed star to measure the true north. In China, the 28 constellations of bright leading stars, located near the equator and the ecliptic, were used as reference points for determining the positions of the stars. If you measure the longitude difference from the leading star, the precession is cancelled, and the relative position hardly changes. Since there is usually no bright star at the same right ascension as the pole star, which is necessary for true north measurements, the Chinese used a nearby leading star instead of an ideal appointed star. Here we estimate the error when using the 28 leading stars. Since the maximum distance between leading stars is 33 degrees, the maximum distance from an ideal star is 16.5 degrees. Even if pole star is 1.5 degrees away from the celestial pole, the error is 26 minutes from true north. This error theta is left as it is in the ruin of Capital Castle. This error increases as the pole star moves away from the celestial pole, so the star closest to the celestial pole was important and was called the pole star. Also, from the point of view of the Hokushin ruling philosophy, it was only natural to measure true north with Hokushin, which is ruler in the sky. This is a calculation example in 582 AD when Chang'an Castle was built. The left end of the table is the time when the leading star on the meridian. This year the pole star is 1.4 degrees away from the celestial pole. Without knowing the time when the pole star is near the meridian, for example, if you measure the direction of the pole star at 10 p.m., it will be 97 minutes west of true north. Since the pole star's right ascension is 334 degrees, the appointing star is Shishiu or Yishiu, which is 180 degrees away. In this example, since Shishiu is on the meridian during the daytime, the leading star of Yishiu will be the appointed star. If you measure the direction of pole star at 3 o'clock in the morning when the winged star is on the meridian, you will get the direction of 11.5 minutes to the west of true north. This is a reconstruction drawing of Castle of Chang'an. The red dotted line is the castle wall of Xi'an in Min Dynasty, which still remains today. The direction of the side of the west wall of Chang'an Castle was 14.9 minutes west of true north. In addition, the direction of the west castle wall, which is based on the wall of the Sui dynasty, was 12.6 minutes westward of true north. Therefore, it can be confirmed that the direction of these walls is close to the calculated 11.5 minutes west of true north. Also, the direction of the east castle wall of Xi'an, which was newly built in Min dynasty, was 5.7 minutes eastward of true north. This is the azimuth line by pole star HR 4893 and leading stars. The wall remains of Chang'an agree with each other within a few minutes of a leading star of Yishiu. The east wall of Min dynasty agrees with a similar error by using the leading star of Jiaoshiu. From here, I'll explain the instruments for the true north measurement and methods. These are a true north measuring instrument drawn in Yingzhou fasci. The top is a solar compass that uses a 13 cm stick on a disc with a diameter of about 43 cm. This will give you a rough south direction. The device below is observation tube without a lens. The device has holes in the front and back, and the field view is plus or minus 48 minutes from the center. The height is 95 centimeters, so the line of sight distance on flat ground is about 3.5 kilometers. The sun compass and telescope-like device are the device of Song dynasty, but similar methods are thought to have existed since ancient times. First, the excavated item from the Han dynasty is explained as a sundial, but it is a sun compass, just like the device of the Song dynasty. In addition, in the Han dynasty, it is written that height is measured using observation tube and water level. Next is the measurement method. First, take advantage of the midday sun to locate the temporal meridian and position an observation tube. This will limit the search area for the faint pole star. If there is no bell to signal the time, place the tube on the meridian where the shadow on the sun compass is the shortest. If there is a time bell, place the tube on the meridian by passing sunlight at noon. Ancient time is true solar time, so at noon the sun is due south. During the nighttime work, just before the waiting star appears, turn the observation tube to the north to search for pole star, and then adjust the pedestal so that the pole star is in the center of the viewing hole. If this is done 1 hour before the leading star comes to meridian, the pedestal setting error is about 30 arc minutes. The effect of this error on the measured azimuth angle is within 1 arc minute. Then point the viewing tube to the south and wait for appointed star to appear in the center of the viewing hole. When the appointed star is in the center, turn the viewing tube to the north and look at the pole star, and adjust the direction of the pedestal of the viewing tube so that the pole star is in the center of the viewing hole. The final position of the pedestal of the viewing tube at this time is the true north-south measurement direction. If you orient your viewing tube horizontally, you can extend this north-south direction for several kilometers. Furthermore, it is possible to extend the east-west straight line by drawing a line perpendicular to the north-south line and placing an observation tube on it. In this way, the true north measuring method using appointed star is a simple survey method that enables accurate surveys to be performed on one day. Appropriate appointed star are thought to have been selected by the following way. First, by orbiting the pole star in the tube, the viewing tube is turned to true north. Pole star moves only about half a turn each night, so it takes months to determine. Once the true north is established, at the time when the pole star came to the center of the viewing tube toward the true north, the tube cylinder is turned to the south, and the leading star closest to the meridian was selected as the appointed star. From here, it is verification of the remains of ancient ruins in China. First, I'll explain the positional relationship of the ancient Chinese cities to be verified. Beijing, Luoyang, and Chang'an are well known, but Handan of Zhao during the Warring States period is between Beijing and Luoyang. In addition, Pingcheng of the Northern and Southern dynasties, Northern Wei and present-day Datong are located to the west of Beijing. This is the positional relationship near Chang'an. First, Qin Xianyang Castle and the mausoleum of the first emperor are in yellow. As remnants of the Han dynasty, there are the Chang'an Castle wall and the imperial tombs of the Han dynasty on the hills between the five altars. Also due south of the Han Castle of Chang'an lies a valley called the Meridian Valley, through which the road through the middle of the southern Han dynasty passes. To the southeast of Han's Chang'an Castle, there is Sui's Daxing Castle, later Tang's Chang'an Castle. Ming Xian Castle was inside the Tang's Chang'an Castle. First, it is a verification of the ruins from Chun Kaiu era to the Han dynasty. The pole star is his HR 4927, which Confucius called the Hoku Shin, god of north. The capital of Zhao was moved to Handan in 386 BC during the Warring States period. Each direction of walls were approximately 30 minutes eastward and westward from true north. When the first emperor of Qing was a prince, he was taken hostage in this castle. These measurements are reflected in the azimuth map. The west wall of Royal Castle was measured using the leading star of Shixiu. The other three walls were measured using the Yixiu's leading star. Next is the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, which is 1.4 degrees east of true north. Assuming that the survey was conducted in 221 BC around the time of national unification, it is 84.7 arc-minutes eastward deviation using a leading star of Yixiu, which is almost the same as the measured average. Construction of Chang'an Castle in the former Han dynasty began in 202 BC, and the castle walls were built in 195 BC. Ms. Huang envisioned a 75 km north-south central axis line from the ritual facility called the Five Altars in the north to the Meridian Valley in the south, and measured and verified it with GPS. There are also measurements of the direction inside the castle taken by Mr. Uno. This is the 75 km north-south axis assumed by Ms. Huang. The crater-like ritual pit and the five altars can be seen from the sky. The direction from Chang'an Castle to five altars is 46.9 minutes eastward of true north. This central axis line passes through Changling. Meridian Valley is the entrance of the road leading to Hanzhong in the south. Ms. Huang measured from the dam in the middle of the valley, which is almost true north. However, since it deviates greatly from the northern direction of 46.9 minutes eastward, I assumed that it was measured from the western hillside. This is a diagram reflecting the measured values of ruins around Han's Chang'an Castle on the azimuth map. Since the measured data are along the azimuth line, we can see that the true north measurement was carried out using the pole star. This is a diagram reflecting all the measured values in the azimuth map. It can be seen that the appointed star used has been changed according to the time so that the deflection from true north does not become large. The appointed star used for Capital Castle in 658 BC has been thought to be the star of Shixiu. However, the appointed star should be Doxiu, because Shixiu is close to the worst direction. It is thought that the appointed star is Shixiu because Mao Heng, who made the annotation. But he was a scholar from the end of Qin to the beginning of Han, when Shixiu was the appointed star, and he probably knew it. Next is the verification of the remains of structures from the later Han to the northern and southern dynasties period. The pole star is HR 4827. The castle wall of Datong Fukan is a wall of the Ming dynasty. However, excavations have confirmed that the castle walls were built in the northern Wei and Tang dynasties. The Pingcheng of northern Wei was built in 406. The azimuth was 6.5 minutes westward of true north on average. The measurement value is reflected in the azimuth map. The wall of castle was surveyed using the leading star of Kangxiu. The northern Wei moved their capital to Luoyang in 493, and in 501 built a round hill to enshrine heaven, 6 kilometers south of the capital. The direction is 19.2 minutes eastward of true north. The main street extending south from Capital Castle has also been partially restored. Its bearing is 46.4 minutes eastward. These measurements are reflected in the azimuth map. The direction from the palace to the round mound is thought to be due to the leading star of Weixiu. If the Luoyang Road was newly developed, it would have exceeded the highest azimuth value in the Cao Wei era, so it is presumed that it was the road of the later Han or the former Han. This is a photo of Luoyang Castle viewed from the north. Government offices line the side of the main road. The round hill is to the true south. The road is extended to the round hill. Next is the verification of the remains from the Tang dynasty to the Ming dynasty. The pole star is HR 4893. First is Chang'an Castle. The direction of the orange lines were measured. The results are explained previously. Next time jumps about 600 years. It is the castle of Mongolia. Yuan Shangdu is upper capital. Built in 1256. The average of the direction is 16.1 minutes west of true north. The direction measured by the pole star HR 4893 has a large error. Shangdu's azimuth readings are in close agreement with the calculated value by the modern pole star HR 424 with leading star of Kuexiu. Of the Chinese ruin examined, only Shangdu was measured by the present pole star at this moment. The aerial view on the left is present-day Beijing, which was built in 1267 and called the Great Capital. The azimuth is 2 degrees 12 minutes west longitude, which is far from true north. The aerial photograph on the right is in the direction of the central castle built in 1307, 2 degrees 35 minutes west. Yingchang Castle, built in 1270, is also 2 degrees 22 minutes west. There are 4 places were verified in the Yuan dynasty. Except for Shangdu Castle, which is almost due north, the other capitals away westward by more than 2 degrees. Looking at the direction of Dadu, Beijing, we can see that it deviates greatly from the leading stars that can obtain the direction close to true north. The direction of these 3 castles almost match the azimuth lines of the pole star HR 4893 with Xinqiu leading star at each latitude. Instead of choosing the best leading star, it was intentionally deviated from true north. One possibility is that the Jeru at that time had an entrance slightly offset from the due south to the east. There is the possibility of such cultural influences. There is no possibility of use of magnetic compass, because it is 7 degrees eastward of true north. The direction of the capital castle of Ming, whose construction began in 1369, is 4 degrees eastward, and is thought to have been surveyed using a compass. From around this time, it seems that even in China, the true north measurement by the pole star has ceased to be used. This is a summary of the measurements and calculations of the orientation of Chinese historic sites. Next is the verification of the orientation of ancient remains in Japan. This table shows the directions of ruins in Japan that are known at this time. Values other than the ancient road of Yamato are listed in the excavation report. The part circled in red is the remains of true north direction. Next is the verification result in Japan. The direction of the ruins of capitals is also along the direction line of the leading stars. As a result, if the direction of the remains is known, the construction error can be estimated. The estimated error is set within a range of about plus or minus 7 years, taking into account construction errors and other factors. As a result of adding the direction of records of the Mizuati ruins and the Ishigami ruins this time, we found that the fixed star was switched around the time of the enthronement of Emperor Sime. As a result, the deviation from true north increased from plus or minus 25 minutes to plus or minus 40 minutes. Compared with the estimated date and the actual date of the historic site, the orientation-based date estimate of the historic site has a standard deviation of about plus or minus 7 years. This indicates that the date can be estimated from the orientation of the remains. This table lists the azimuths inferred in specific ancient years from the relationship between the azimuth line formed by the pole star HR 4893 and the directions of Japanese palaces. However, since there are multiple candidates in the same direction, it is necessary to narrow down the date by another factor. Here is an example of the dating based on the direction of the excavated remains. Daikondaiji Temple at the foot of Mt. Kagayama. There are two Daikondaiji temples, and this temple was built during the reign of Emperor Monmuo. The offset of the central axis of the cathedral is 22 minutes and 13 seconds westward of true north. Combining the pole star HR 4893 and the leading star of Luxiu gives the estimated year around 704. This estimated year almost matches the time when it was founded. The direction of Emperor Tenji at Tsunomiya is 1 degree 25 minutes west of true north. The orange frame is the approximate range of this offset. At this time, the pole star was about 1 degree away from the celestial pole, and it is thought that astronomical observations were made using the fourth star of the Big Dipper. In addition, the reconstructed Anno-ji main hall and tower are said to have been rebuilt during the Itsukyo period, as they are located almost due north. However, the value close to true north in the Itsukyo era is about 23 minutes to the east, so it is necessary to reconfirm the direction. The Big Dipper was used as an exception of period of Itsukyo under the reign of Emperor Tenji, when relations with China deteriorated. The resulting direction was 85 minutes westward and 23 minutes eastward of true north. It is believed that Kawahara Temple was also measured in this way. Kawahara Temple was built after the death of Emperor Seimei in Asuka to pray for his soul. The direction of the middle gate is 21 minutes eastward and the estimated time is 670 plus or minus 7 years with Susiu. The corridor is slightly outdated. However, during this period, the pointing star has been changed to Nushiu and Emperor Tenji measured with the Big Dipper. In that case, it is about 23 minutes eastward. The tower, which is said to have been rebuilt in the Kamakura period, is oriented 44 minutes eastward, and is estimated to have been built around 1244 AD, which matches the records. This is the position on the azimuth line. This is the latest confirmed ruin. At this time, it seems that the direction measurement by the pole star is still inherited. Sofukuji ruins are the ruins located northwest of Tsunomiya. The remains on the south ridge of the Sofukuji site are presumed to have been Bonsyakuji built in 786, but this has not been confirmed. The estimated date from the measured direction is 785 years on average, which is almost consistent with the foundation date of Bonsyakuji. As with the multiple examples examined above, it is believed that temples were also measured using the pole star, except during the Itsukyo period when measurements were taken with the Big Dipper. From here, it is an explanation of the dating of the ancient true north-south straight road by its direction. The dating of the excavated remains is estimated based on the excavated pottery and other relics. However, dating from pottery excavated from roadside gutters has been controversial because the excavated area is short compared to the length of the road, and contamination from other sources is conceivable. Until now, dating has mainly been inference based on the accumulation of circumstantial evidence such as literature. The direction of the road is the only physical evidence that can identify the date of the entire road, but until now there was no scale for estimating the date, and it was not easy to obtain accurate direction data on a minute-by-minute basis. There is no previous research that focuses on it. Estimation of the construction date of roads by direction is the first true date estimation method that has been verified by the direction of the remains of the same age. It has been assumed that the Yamato 3 Old Road were built at the same time, as they were nearly the same distance apart when measured on Yokooji Street. There is also a theory that Shimatsumichi was built starting from the north of Maruyama Burial Mound. Based on these, there is a theory that Yamato 3 Road were built during the reign of Emperor Suko, who was closely related to Maruyama Burial Mound. Another theory is that it was built in the middle of the 7th century, when true north direction was introduced to Castle, and it is divided. Shimatsumichi is an ancient straight road that served as the basis for Fujiwara-kyo and Hijokyo. The direction of Shimatsumichi is 24.4 minutes between Suzaku Gate of Heijiakyo and Yagi. In addition, it is believed that it was built in the same direction starting from Maruyama Burial Mound. However, based on the excavation records and map surveys, it turns out that the Shimatsumichi was built in 3 sections. Section A is about 19 kilometers from intersection with Taishimichi to the north, and it takes 23 minutes westward offset. Section B is about 4 kilometers long and offset is 43 minutes westward. Section C is about 1 kilometer long, with a 40-minute eastward offset. As a result, it became clear that Section A was the original Shimatsumichi, and that Maruyama Burial Mound was not the starting point and had no relationship. The offset of the C section averages the start and end points, making it difficult to find the deflection peculiar to the B and C sections. Based on the quick reference chart of directions and estimated years, estimated date of Section A is around 654. Section B is 655 to 656. And Section C is 655 to 660. Here, looking at the Nihonshoki, Chronicles of Japan, there is a description corresponding to the estimated years of these three sections. First, Section A matches the record of 653 in the Nihonshoki that the road was repaired in places. Section B is consistent with the record that when Emperor Seimei ascended the throne in 655, she tried to build a palace in Ahariya, but it was cancelled because the wood was rotten. At this time, it is believed that the road to Aharida's palace was already prepared via Kuranotimida. Section C is consistent with the record of the following year that a palace was established in Asuka in 656. It is believed that the road from Kuranotimida to Asukanomiya was constructed at this time. Thus, Shimatsumichi was built in 653 and extended southwards under Emperor Seimei. Next is the dating of the Nikitsumichi by its direction. This figure compares the assumed Nikitsumichi route with equal intervals and the actual route. The actual route was about 100 meter west of the assumed route. The direction is also about 8 minutes westward of Shimatsumichi, and the estimated date is 632 plus or minus 7 year, which is more than 20 years older than Shimatsumichi. This overlaps with the era of Emperor Jomei's Kudara Palace, which is near the starting point of the Nikitsumichi. Therefore, the three ancient roads in Yamato Plain were not evenly spaced, oriented in different directions, and were not built at the same time. Next is the dating of Yokowaji, which traverses the southern part of Yamato Plain from east to west. The east-west line has more errors than the north-south line because the east-west line is calculated at right angles to the north-south line, which was measured by pole star. The direction was measured at the center of the current road. The direction is about 28 minutes westward of true north. The estimated date is 646 plus or minus 7 plus alpha, so it can be estimated that it was built in 653, just like the other main roads. Next is the dating of the North Yokowaji that crosses the central part of Yamato Plain. On the straight section, the direction from Beija Bridge at the west to Wanishimo Shrine intersection at the east end is 13.2 minutes west. The average direction of the current road is 11.9 minutes. It is estimated to be around 730 AD, and it is likely that the road, which was built at the same time as Shimatsumichi, was redeveloped in conjunction with the construction of Naniwa no Miya in the late Nara period by Emperor Shomu. Next is Naniwa-Daido. Naniwa-Daido starts from Naniwa Palace and continues south. The direction of Naniwa-Daido is 26.2 minutes eastward from Naniwa Palace and the excavation site of Yamato River, which is almost consistent with the direction of 653. This is also consistent with excavation results. Next is the introduction of Hokushin ruling thought to Japan. Stages such as the capital castle of the correct direction measured by the pole star and the Teikyoden embodied the presence of the heavenly emperor. By performing dynastic ceremonies on this stage, the emperor legitimized his ruling under the command of heaven. The correct orientation of the palace in Japan also signifies the transmission of the Hokushin ruling philosophy. It is also at this time that he is called as Tenno, the emperor, and holds his enthronement ceremony at the Daigokuden, which corresponds to the pole star. China's capital castle with correct orientation and the Teikyoden were built on the idea of Hokushin rule. A form based on Hokushin ruling thought was also introduced to Japan as a whole. Emperor Jomei's Kudera Palace has not yet been discovered, but is presumed to be the first correctly oriented palace in Japan. The Akamoto no Miya faces 20 degrees west, and it is believed that the idea of Hokushin ruling thought was transmitted between the Akamoto no Miya and the Kudera no Miya. A star chart with the Emperor star was also introduced in this period. The star chart Koshi Getshinsu has a star named Tenno, means emperor, and it is written that the Tenno is the center of the heavens and is the god of the east. It is known that the name of this star is written in the astronomical journal of the Book of Jin, Tenno Taiti. However, it was not yet completed during the reign of Emperor Jomei. Emperor Jomei probably chose the name Tenno from this star chart, corresponding to Kota of China. The summary of this presentation. In China, capital castle with the correct orientation can be found from the Chun-Kaiu period to the Yuan dynasty. However, during the Yuan dynasty, the pole star was different and the direction was deliberately shifted from the true north, so it seems that the idea of the Hokushin rule of the Tang dynasty was not inherited as it was. Also, Taikyokuden began in Cao Wei and continued until the Tang dynasty, but has been discontinued since the Song dynasty. Mr. Co attributed this to the shift from cosmological ritual theory to practical ritual theory. In Japan, the correct orientation of the Asuka period palace and Daigakuten signifies the introduction of Hokushin ruling thought, which reached its peak in the Tang dynasty. After that, Hokushin ruling thought was absorbed and integrated into religious thought based on ancient Japanese beliefs in the latter part of the Asuka period, and has continued to the present day. The emperor's enthronement ceremony was also held at Daigokuden until it disappeared by the fire in 1177 AD. In addition, the direction measurement by the pole star was also used for more than 600 years until the Kamakura period. This concludes the presentation. Thank you for watching this presentation.